Have you ever had an experience of buying a new car, even a newer car, and when you finally make that car your own, you start realizing just how many upgrades are in this car compared to the old car that you drove? Have you ever gone through and maybe done a little bit of remodeling in your house? Maybe you put on new siding. Maybe you put in new windows. Maybe you put in a new furnace or a new air conditioner. And before long, you started realizing the benefit of having these newer appliances, these newer materials on your home. Maybe your house stayed cooler longer. Maybe your electric bill went down. Maybe your gas consumption went down. Your experience was a beneficial one. Your experience was a good one because essentially by going to the newer things, you ended up having a bit of an upgrade. Now I want you to think about this when it comes to your retirement planning. You see, for decades, we've been conditioned to invest in the same exact way. We've been conditioned to think that the stock market is the very best place for our money. And in many respects, when we're in the accumulation stage of our life, it is. We're dollar cost averaging. We're buying shares. We're in this for the long haul because we've got maybe 25, 30, 40 years before we get to retirement. But now that we find ourselves in this transitory state where we're about to make that next stage of life change into retirement, we realize one thing. We realize that our retirement methodologies, our strategies for investing now need to be upgraded as well. What do I mean by that? Well, I want you to think about how most people today are still trying to create income for themselves. They're trying to create income from what they've saved in their 401k or their 403b. And what this means is that if they want income from these types of instruments, basically they are without control. They have very little control. They cannot control the number of shares that they have. They cannot control the price of the shares when they go to sell them to create the income. They cannot control the taxes that they pay on the withdrawal from the 401k or 403b. And they have very little control as to what they can invest in as long as that money still remains within the employer retirement program. You see, this is the reason why when we get to retirement that so many people will end up moving and rolling their money from the employer retirement program to an IRA. They do this to modernize their retirement strategy. When you get to retirement, you know that the most important thing outside of your health is going to be income. So by moving money into a traditional IRA from your employer plan now affords you the opportunity to have control. Control in many respects. Let's just start with investment selection. Remember that employer plans are designed to be very cookie cutter. They've got to serve hundreds and hundreds, maybe even thousands of employees. And most of those employees are going to be on the younger end of the spectrum. They're not going to be retirement age. So the 401ks are going to be catering to those younger individuals to, number one, attract the talent, to show them, hey, we've got some aggressive growth tools within our 401k. That way it attracts them and it hopefully keeps them. Now, let me ask you, if you're on the retirement end of life, do you want a lot of excitement? Do you want to be aggressively allocating your money so that you're being whipsawed when the market's going up and down? Probably not. So when you go to the IRA, now you have a much broader array of options to invest in, things that are more conservative, things that are more steady. Number two, let's talk about income. How do you create income? Well, if you're in the 401k or 403b, you have to sell shares. Well, if you sell shares, let me ask you, do you have any control of the price of those shares? And the answer is absolutely not. However, when you go into an IRA and you have that broader selection of investment options, now you can begin to naturally invest in things that naturally produce income through interest, income through dividends. And we're not talking 1.5% here. We're talking 3.5%, 4.5%, 5%, maybe even 6%. And think about that reality. That's $100,000 earning $6,000 of interest in dividends that you could be spending if you really wanted to. I mentioned taxes. When you're in an employer plan and you withdraw money from that employer plan, you have to mandatorily pay taxes. 20% federal tax, and if you live in a state like I do that requires you pay half to the state that you paid to the feds. Now, what does that mean for us? It means that you might be giving up 30 cents on every dollar that you withdraw from that employer plan. If you move that money to the IRA, guess what? Now you're in a position where there is no mandatory tax. That means that if you're in the 12% tax bracket, you take the money out. You can decide if you want to pay the 12% now or decide if you want to pay the 12% later. You see, this is what modernizing our retirement strategies look like. If we make a life change from the accumulation stage to the distribution stage, doesn't it make sense that we need to modernize our retirement strategies to now follow us into that new stage and help us in creating the income that we need now that we're in that new stage of life? I hope this video has been helpful to you. I hope that it's been a little bit thought-provoking. If you like our little videos, I encourage you, hit that subscribe button, give us a thumbs up if you like the video, and above all, remember to share this with your friends. They can use this information as well. Thank you so much for watching, and remember, it's up to you to make today a great day.